The Western media then picks up from the Indian media or picks up the cues from the Indian political system. They also talk about it that, oh, look, under Modi, chief ministers are put in jail.
In the country today, there is a certain thought process or entitlement process, which I think that metaphor Khan Market gang is a very good description of that. I want to tell you there's an international Khan Market gang as well. These are people who are sort of linked, to the entitled people out here. They are socially comfortable with them. They know them. They feel like them. The sales are down in the domestic Khan market. The international Khan market gang feels, look, I need to pep up these guys and give them support.
Prajwal Revanna case, and why was he allowed to get out of the country? Why has his passport not been impounded?
MEA got this request from Karnataka only on the 21st of May. People were saying a lot of things to the press. I don't know about how other governments, state governments or otherwise function. We, at least in MEA, function as per the law.
The opposition says it's going to be Dakshin mein saaf and Uttar mein half.
For us, it would be Dakshin mein double, and for the opposition, I would say Uttar mein even more trouble.
Whether it is Mr. Rahul Gandhi or Mr. Kharge, they keep saying that the reservation issue is extremely important because Modi government has no respect for the constitution.
Constitution does not provide faith-based reservation. You are actually implementing and advancing faith-based reservations, and then you say, I have respect for constitution. This is against the constitution. 80 odd amendments to the constitution were done by whom? By the Congress party.
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching or listening to another edition of the ANI podcast with Smita Prakash. Today, my guest is the External Affairs Minister, Mr. S. Jaishankar. He has served a 5-year term in the Modi cabinet and is a member of the Rajya Sabha. As we head to the last 2 phases of the grueling 7 rounds of polling and the end of the mammoth Indian election, I talked to Dr. J, the politician. Dr. J, thank you so much for being part of the podcast. Lovely to have you here. You've done quite a few podcasts, interviews, interactions. So I don't want to ask you the regular Pakistan, China, Iran, US, UK, Europe.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I thought I'd begin by asking you about Dr. Jaishankar, the politician, the campaigning that you have done in this round of election. So I just want to know, how many states did you campaign in and what was different this time?
Well, I campaigned, I think, in 10 or 11. I still have 2 to go. I'm going to UP tomorrow, day after, and then to Himachal. What was different? Well, in a way, for me, campaigning was different because I have campaigned. I campaigned in Gujarat Vidhan Sabha elections. I campaigned in Karnataka. But general elections is something very different. So it's one thing to be a voter, to be a very interested voter. A politically aware voter, to have watched elections across the world, but when you have your own and you are part of it and you are participating, campaigning, motivating others, it's a very different experience.
Well, you're not a career politician. A bureaucrat got into real politic in a way. But when you became External Affairs Minister, it was like kind of a continuation of the job that you were doing. But when everybody saw you out there pinching babies' cheeks and walking in Kaban Park with the retirees, eating dosa at some darshinis, that's a different kind of work involved. Did it need a lot of effort or did it come naturally to you?
I would say it came naturally because I remember you're now seeing me at the end of a term. So, I mean, what you refer to is the beginning of a term. 5 years have elapsed.
Yeah.
Okay. In these 5 years, I've actually been functioning and absorbing what is a political world. Very good colleagues who have, who helped you make that transition. Some of it is there already because look, even I tell people, diplomats are a kind of politician. I mean, we are very adjustable people. We go out to foreign environments, look at our, ground situation, figure out what to do. We are not people who are bureaucrats in that regular sense of the term. But definitely, yes. Even I feel I've learned a lot of things. Each election, each visit out was something. I mean, I think one experience which was very helpful was during the COVID time, when many of us ministers, we went out in the field to help out, to raise morale, to convince people that we can find a way of collectively dealing with it. So it's a combination of a lot of this, and in a way a kind of an evolution which has happened, and I find it very interesting. I mean, you would see that. I mean, it's something which I sort of
Yeah, you took
got.
naturally to
Yeah,
it.
I've got
So,
into it.
but
Yeah.
like when in the decades that you've been in the foreign service, basically you were pushing the envelope of the India story in all the countries that you went as ambassador, when you went in as a junior diplomat, and then later as as external affairs minister. But when you speak to first time voters, when you speak to experienced voters, they are people who already believe in the India story. It's a different communication that you need to do. What was your message to the young voters, to first time voters, to even preteens? I saw you at the Delhi Tamil School also talking about Chabahar, and I was quite amazed that youngsters are interested in
Yeah,
Iran.
they brought it up.
Yeah, they brought it up. So
Yes.
I was wondering, how did the conversations come up in these places?
Well, one, of course, to some extent, what you tell different demographics is something slightly different, because it has to be nuanced and appropriate for that particular generation. But if you ask me in this 2 months, let us say, what has surprised me, uh, uh, I'm actually very impressed by the extent of interest today uh, in foreign policy and in the country's international standing across the country. I'm not talking Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta. I'm talking Bikaner, Dharwar, Sambalpur, Amritsar. I mean, these are sort of really examples to you, of what would not be metropolitan cities. Okay, Amritsar may be closer to it, where today there is an enormous interest. I mean, very often, yes, I've been, to a lot of these, the orthodox way of campaigning. When you go for the nomination, you go with the candidate, you're on a truck, you're mixing with people, all of that is there. But generally what happens, there's always a request there saying, please speak, and sometimes it's 2-3 occasions in a day. And typically, I would say whatever is the capacity of the hall, it's full, and sometimes they have a problem because the interest is more than the capacity, and these are actually genuine interest about what are the challenges, what are we going to do, how did you go through this situation, that situation. So, and some issues repeatedly come up.
Ukraine, POK.
I would say my experience number one would be the whole Ukraine rescue operation.
Rescue.
There's huge interest, today, and by the way, not just interest. I've had at least 3 occasions where somebody from the audience, who was either themselves a person who came out of Ukraine or was a family member of, came up and said, "Look, I would like to come up there and thank you and thank Prime Minister."
Okay.
I would say Ukraine was, for me, the most frequently asked question. The second would be the whole Russia oil issue. How do you stand up to pressure? The third, I would say, to some extent, yes, POK would be issue. I actually was taken aback because I find the UN Security Council issue coming up. It's not something I would have readily imagined sitting in Delhi, but clearly people see that very much as a matter of national prestige, of pride, of what is today possible.
What do they ask you, that अब तक क्यों नहीं हुआ, और या अगले टर्म में आप करोगे, या why the Do they blame the bureaucracy or the political
no.
dispensation?
They feel it's something we should strive for. They want an informed look. With me, normally people are not seeking a big picture of explanation. They want a reasonable, logical. Where are we? Where will we want to go? How will it happen? Kind of thing. So I actually
Do they
share
think
it with them.
that the entire system is gamed against us? Because that's what one gets to hear a lot on social media, that whether it is the Western media or whether it is at the UN, the system जो है वो हमारे खिलाफ है, ये gamed है against India.
You're talking UNSC, you're talking domestic?
UNSC.
In UNSC, they do understand today that we have to make our presence felt. We have to push back. As I said, the most frequently asked question is the Ukraine war and the whole rescue operation. But the second is that oil issue. And they do feel, they share that sentiment that Western countries were unreasonable in their expectation, that they were phasing out their own buys out of Russia and demanding that we, a much lower income country, terminate it, and then we all go into the Middle East where they will actually outcompete us, and basically, we will end up with the short end of the stick. So I think the feeling is, yes, Western countries often have not, been understanding of India, often are condescending about India, demanding of India. A lot of these comments about our elections, about our democratic process, I think people resent that also. They find that terribly condescending. And in fact, there is sometimes I say things, believe me, they say much more to me than I actually say, because the feeling is, frankly, people take a lot of pride in our own processes and don't like it at all when people who don't have that credentials pass comments on it.
Do they want the MEA to push back when there are supercilious comments made about Indian democracy, about Indian foreign policy? Do they want the Ministry of External Affairs to push back?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll be very honest with you. I think one of the reasons why they are keen to talk to me is they feel that, under the Modi government, they've seen somebody like me push back and they like it. And they feel this is really what should be done. So one part of it is that. There's also that sense about China, that, China is pressing us on the border. We are standing up on many issues today. We are willing to say things which earlier on we didn't used to say. Let us say giving protection to the to terrorists from UN sanctions. That kind of stuff. So it's I would say an overall confidence in the country, in the country's prospects, where we are going, and that we don't need to bend and we don't need to kind of look down in front of the world. And when you stand up straight and strong, they like it. That's what they want you to do. That's the kind of government they want.
Not be apologetic on any issue, right? Accept mistakes but not be apologetic,
sure,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing I've noticed is that people keep asking you about what is it like to work with Mr. Modi? What is how does he work? How many hours do you work? And those kind of questions also come your way.
Yes.
More than many other politicians, I've seen that you get asked this almost in every interaction that I've seen. They ask you, "Kitne ghante kaam karte hain Modi ji? Is he a hard task master? Does he give you goals to achieve and timelines?" They keep asking you this.
Yes, they do, and I note your point. And my own sense is partly they see me traveling a lot with him. So perhaps they sense, okay, because you travel with the Prime Minister, you are maybe a better person to ask about working habits and how many hours and when does he sleep and how much pressure is there and how much latitude does he give you, etc. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm more open to talking about it. I really don't know the reason, but I do take your point.
You know, the Prime Minister in a recent interaction said that when he came in, he didn't want जो पुरानी नीतियाँ जिस तरह होती हैं. He was talking about how foreign policy and how it was changing, and he said that दूसरे देशों को एक संदर्भ में देखा जाता था. Like he said, when I went to Israel, I didn't go to Palestine. कि अगर मैं जाऊँगा,
hyphenation.
हाँ, the hyphenation. Something that used to irritate India to a large extent about the hyphenation. And he says that I didn't accept advice which was given to me, because जो ब्यूरोक्रेसी थी वो 3-4 प्रधानमंत्रियों के साथ काम कर चुके थे. वो कहते थे ऐसे नहीं होता, वैसे होता है. And I said, I don't want to see my countries through the prism of other relationships. He was explaining that. You worked with him when he was in the first term and in the second term in different capacities. So tell me, how did that work? You as a bureaucrat, you as a minister, does one have to be dynamic? Does one have to change with every prime minister?
Look, my acquaintanceship with Prime Minister Modi before he became Prime Minister was all of about 3 days when he came on a visit to China. But those 3 days were enough for me to understand that he had views and he had his assessment, and he had a lot of experience, much more than people who didn't know him or didn't care to find out. Their impression was very different. Then I met him about maybe 2 weeks after he became Prime Minister. I was then in US. I came back. And I could see again that he had a view, and part of those had already been expressed in the fact that he had got all our neighbors to come for the oath taking.
Yeah,
that was
the 2014.
That was very much his personal idea. It was not a bureaucracy's idea.
They wouldn't have liked it, right? The old system of bureaucracy.
I don't know.
The term he used was मैं घिसी पिटी advice पे नहीं जाता.
Okay, look, I want to be fair. I wasn't there, so I don't know who said what. But I do know that it was his idea. Okay. So I have always had the presumption from those first 3 days, then from those 4 or 5 encounters when I was ambassador, in the period when he was in the US on that visit. And I've always felt he had views. He has this ability to question, to continuously kind of, can we do it differently? Can we do it better? Self-improvement, you can say, in a way. And he keeps challenging you. But the challenge is a two-way process, it's not like he's reached the conclusion at the beginning of a conversation. He will throw up a set of propositions, or he invites you to throw up a set of propositions.
कि अगर मैं कोरिया नहीं जाता, जापान चला जाता हूँ, पर मैं कोरिया नहीं जाऊँगा.
आपको क्या लगता है?
आपको, does he do that?
Yes, I know in the case of Israel and Palestine, he had that view very clearly, and he said this very, very early. That when I do that Israel visit, he said, I want to do only that Israel visit. There he had made up his mind. Now, he
went via Jordan.
No, Israel we went straight.
Straight, okay.
The Palestine we went via Jordan.
Okay.
So look, it's interactive. He's very, he's in a way a person who constantly challenges you when you work with him. You have very active conversations, and he's very fond of a kind of a team think, a team review. Everybody gathers around the table. So, I mean, some favorite words: review, feedback, kaisa gaya, and normally he speaks at the end, and it starts with the junior most person, so that they don't get crowded.
Really?
They don't get crowded by somebody senior speaking first. Then there's pressure on them otherwise. So there's a kind of culture. There's a culture about it.
So when this team sat together and you were given the target 400 par, did you, like most other people...
I'm talking of foreign policy.
I know, I'm jumping now to
yes.
politics.
Okay.
That when you were given a target of 400 par, see, I'm being dynamic, just like the MEA has become dynamic. So when the target was given 400 par, did you, like us in the media, think, कि क्या 400? How can it be 400 par? कैसे कर सकते हैं? Did you people think like that?
No. Say, you got to understand how many other things had happened by the time you are seeing the the end point of a process. Huh? Because I'm a member of parliament, I'm a minister, I'm a member of BJP, I'm also party to a whole set of deliberations and meetings and various exercises.
So it was not Hawa mein.
No,
400 पार.
look, I can tell you, I'm talking what 2 years ago, where many of us were assigned told go visit a constituency and give us a sense of prospects. What are the challenges? These are constituencies we had not won.
Oh.
Okay, so there was actually, look, this is the BJP you are talking about. Think there is a process, there is a kind of an exercise out of which an outcome is produced. People, this is not the other party where somebody decides in the morning what to say and everybody says it. So
Such
there
as?
is a
You're a politician, not a, who are you hinting at?
No, I'm not hinting. I mean, you know and I know. But look, here's the bottom line. We had actually done this exercise of which were the seats we did not win in the 2019 election. What should we do to try and win those seats? Among them, what looks more likely? Who should, what are the changes we need to make? So there's a whole exercise which is done to arrive at that 370. That 370 was not a sort of a figure out of thin air. So
it didn't come as a surprise to you at all?
No, I mean, look, I mean, many of us may not have known, okay, it would be exactly it would be 370.
Huh.
But we knew that it would be a very ambitious target.
But the opposition says it's going to be Dakshin mein saaf and Uttar mein half. What do you have to say to that? Because you've travelled Dakshin and Uttar. So what is it?
I think from our point of view, I would say for us it would be Dakshin mein double, and for the opposition, I would say Uttar mein even more trouble.
Even more trouble. So Uttar, now we're heading into the 2 phases of polling, last 2 phases of polling. Do you still feel, does the party still feel, because Congress says, Mamata Banerjee, Congress, Samajwadi Party, all of them say that you're not going to get the number of seats that you expected in the north.
Okay.
And east.
I can answer it many ways. One, I can go to their own predictions at various elections, including the last elections. Please look at what they said and what actually happened. So they're not exactly great election result predictors. I mean, obviously, look, in the middle of an election, if a set of parties are losing, what can they say? Tell people, listen, we're all losing. I mean, as it is. I mean, these are parties, many of them, their candidates have left the field. I mean, forget about supporters coming.
Yeah, in Orissa it happened, the Puri Congress candidate.
So the point is that, look, I think on the ground, the sentiment to me is very clear. I mean, I can see definitely in the south much greater support and much greater enthusiasm than I've ever seen. And some of our states I've been visiting many times, I've been Kerala, for example, multiple times. I was at the nomination of a candidate and spent some time in Telangana, that kind of upsurge and enthusiasm, very, very strong. I think we will definitely pick up many more seats in the south. I went to Odisha. I think again feeling is that we'll improve our numbers in Odisha. The sense is we'll improve our numbers in Bengal. I went to Bengal, and Bengal, you can actually see this reflected in the kind of, because even on the turnout issue, turnout can sometimes, higher turnout can help you or not. But we feel very confident that in Bengal, in Odisha, in Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Kerala will pick up what's it, UP. So look, if anybody who sits with the numbers, I think there is a calculation out there. Now,
you spoke about Bengal. Mamata Banerjee has, in every campaign speech, says that if the BJP comes to power,
you mean? Okay.
It's going to be the last election in this country because Modi ji is going to be the dictator who's going to end all elections. That's one thing. The second thing she has said is she has refused to accept the Calcutta High Court order on OBCs. The third thing that she says is that she warns people not to sign up for the CAA. She says, don't sign that document because forget citizenship, there will be discrimination against you.
I think the first one is ludicrous. I mean, we've seen, this is a country where democratic traditions run deep. You have a party today which has a very strong democratic ethos. You have a prime minister who's very proud of being the prime minister of the biggest, oldest and greatest democracy in the world. I mean, we pride ourselves today on our democratic credentials. So, if we are doing very well in the democratic process, I mean, why would we have any doubts about it? It is, in fact, this is a loser's argument. Okay. I mean, the very fact she is making the argument itself shows that she knows what the results are going to be on June 4th. Regarding the High Court judgment, that whole issue, look, one, of course, what she says to me is extraordinary. I mean, if a court gives a verdict, I mean, and we have all been at the receiving end of verdicts of courts. You don't say to the court, I will not obey what you say. You say, okay, I will appeal to some higher court if that option is open to you. But no, an administrative authority does not defy a judicial pronouncement. That's not the way democracy functions. So, I mean, here you are talking of future of democracy. I mean, first, please practice democracy. And this, defying a court is not a way of practicing a democracy. The third issue, look, on CA, I think it's a straightforward issue. I mean, we have created a faster pathway for people who needed that, who have a claim to that, and definitely we feel this is the way of normalizing them. Otherwise, they will remain forever in that sort of you can say that hazy zone of not knowing what the legal status is. And in this country, so today when so many of your entitlements are based on documentation, I mean, that's not the way maybe they would like to run governance. Maybe they like everything very fuzzy and siphony out there. But I think in a clean, transparent system,
documentation,
I think it's very important for everybody.
But when you come to, if I was to come back to the reservation issue, it's something that even the Congress has picked up, whether it is Mr. Rahul Gandhi or Mr. Kharge. They keep saying that the reservation issue is extremely important because the Modi government has no respect for the constitution, and they will eradicate reservations for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes.
Okay, so let's separate the two issues, okay? Because I have comments on both. Respect for constitution and eradicate, and the reservation issue. Who has actually attacked reservation in this country? Actually, if you look at it, most of all the Congress party and some other parties of the India alliance. Because what did they do? They have actually systematically used faith, the argument of faith, and created minority institutions and taken away reservation from those who had it. Now, we know there are the famous cases, Jamia Millia University being one of them. But there are 9,000 institutions like this.
So which means that declare Jamia as minority and they don't get reservations.
So who loses? So essentially what are you doing? Look, here, because that's why from there I come to the constitution. What does the constitution provide for in this country? Constitution provides for reservations for scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and then thereafter for the OBCs. Constitution does not provide faith-based reservation. But effectively, what are you doing? You are advocating, not advocating, you are actually implementing and advancing faith-based reservations, and then you say, I have respect for constitution. This is against the constitution. Now, when you speak of the constitution, let's look at the constitution. Okay, 80 odd amendments to the constitution were done by whom? By the Congress party. Okay, so the party which has the highest record of changing the constitution now has the temerity to say other people have intent on the constitution. The party which is actually doing an end round around reservations is saying, oh, the other guy has intent on doing this. The ground reality is totally different. And if you look, not just that, forget, let's say for a moment, put the letter of the Constitution aside. Take even the spirit of the Constitution. Tell me which article of the Constitution allows governance by remote control? Who was really controlling policy for those 10 years of UPA? And what was the constitutional sanctity of it?
You're talking about the NEC?
Yes. No, and the whole culture. Look, when somebody can come into a meeting and tear up what the cabinet has approved, where is the respect for Constitution then? Today again I hear, I will tear up this, I will tear up that. If you think you are entitled to tear up what you don't like and then say, oh, by the way, I have respect for Constitution, you really think people are going to buy that?